Attention dialysis patients. The FDA issued a Class 1 recall of the dialysis medicines Granuflo and Naturalite. The manufacturer, Fresenius Medical Care, failed to warn dialysis patients of the risk of heart attacks and sudden death. You may be entitled to compensation if you suffered a heart attack or your loved one died during or within 48 hours of dialysis treatment. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG for a free confidential consultation. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG now. Non-attorney spokesperson. Attention women using the Mirena IUD. After insertion, the Mirena IUD can move, causing perforation of the uterus or intestines. It can cause abscesses or pelvic inflammatory disease. It can also cause infertility. If you or someone you know has experienced serious side effects following the implantation of the Mirena IUD, please call 1-800-BAD-DRUG. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG for a free confidential consultation. Infuse, a product used in spinal fusion surgery, may cause severe side effects. Side effects include uncontrolled bone growth, radiating pain in the legs and arms, male infertility, severe inflammation, airway compression causing difficulty breathing, and death. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG to discuss your rights with an attorney. If you or a loved one has had spinal fusion surgery using infused bone graft and suffered any of these problems, you may be entitled to compensation. Call now for a free consultation. 1-800-BAD-DRUG. Non-attorney spokesperson. Attention women taking Yasmin, Ocella, NuvaRing. Reports show taking these forms of birth control may increase a woman's risk of blood clots and strokes. If you or a loved one suffered a pulmonary embolism, a deep vein thrombosis, a stroke or heart attack while taking Yasmin, Ocella, Gianvi, Biaz, or NuvaRing, call 1-800-BAD-DRUG for a free consultation. You may be entitled to compensation for your injuries. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG now. Taking antidepressants while pregnant can cause birth defects, heart defects, pulmonary hypertension, spina bifida, cleft palate, and other birth defects. The FDA recently strengthened the warning on Paxil. If you took Paxil while you were pregnant and your child was born with a birth defect, call 1-800-BAD-DRUG for a free consultation. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG now. Filters are designed to prevent blood clots, but over 900 adverse events have been reported to the FDA involving barred IVC filters. Studies show that up to 31% of the IVC filters may break. If you or a loved one have been injured by a barred IVC filter, you may be eligible to receive compensation. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG to discuss your rights with an attorney. Call now for a free consultation. 1-800-BAD-DRUG. The FDA is evaluating new data linking Byetta, Januvia, and Victoza to pancreatic cancer. Our law firm is currently investigating claims for those diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Also, we are investigating claims for those taking Byetta who are diagnosed with thyroid cancer. If you or a loved one took Byetta, Januvia, or Victoza and were diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, or took Byetta and were diagnosed with thyroid cancer, call 1-800-BAD-DRUG for a free confidential consultation. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG now. An attorney spokesperson. Surgery using transvaginal mesh may cause severe complications. If you suffered complications after surgery using transvaginal mesh, you may be entitled to compensation. Problems include additional surgery, severe pain, infection, vaginal scarring, mesh erosion or disintegration, pain during sexual intercourse. Over 1,000 serious complications have been reported. You may be entitled to compensation if you had complications after surgery using transvaginal mesh. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG now for a free consultation. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG now. Attention parents of boys who took Risperdal. Risperdal, a medication for the treatment of ADHD, autism, and bipolar disorder, has been linked to gynecomastia, a medical condition in which boys develop female breasts. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG today if your son has taken Risperdal and been diagnosed with gynecomastia or has grown female breasts. Your family may be entitled to significant compensation. Several claims have already been settled. For a free confidential consultation, call 1-800-BAD-DRUG now. Non-attorney spokesperson. Attention men using testosterone. If you use testosterone and were diagnosed with a stroke or heart attack, you may be entitled to compensation. The FDA is investigating the risk of stroke, heart attack, and death in men using FDA-approved testosterone products after 2 separate studies suggested an increased risk of cardiovascular events. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG now. If you have suffered from a stroke or heart attack after using testosterone cream, gel, or injectables, you may be entitled to compensation. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG for a free consultation. 3,000 people will be diagnosed with mesothelioma. Any one of them could be your coworker, your neighbor, your friend, or a loved one. If you or someone you know has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, get the best care you can. Then call us. For nearly 2 decades, we've been fighting for people with asbestos-related diseases. Call us at 1-800-950-MESO. Mesothelioma. Don't fight it alone. The blood thinner Pradaxa may cause serious internal bleeding. The FDA is evaluating reports of serious bleeding events in patients taking Pradaxa. The manufacturer of Pradaxa linked at least 260 deaths to Pradaxa use since 2010. If you or a loved one took Pradaxa and suffered from gastrointestinal bleeding, cerebral hemorrhaging, or death, you may be eligible to receive compensation. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG to discuss your rights with an attorney. Call now for a free consultation. 1-800-BAD-DRUG.
The blood thinners Pradaxa and Xarelto may cause serious internal bleeding. Pradaxa and Xarelto are 2 of the newest blood thinners on the market, but there are reports of uncontrollable bleeding events in patients taking Pradaxa or Xarelto. If you or a loved one took Pradaxa or Xarelto and suffered from gastrointestinal bleeding, a cerebral hemorrhage, a heart attack, or death, you may be eligible to receive compensation. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG to discuss your rights with an attorney. Call now, 1-800-BAD-DRUG. Non-attorney spokesperson.
The blood thinner Pradaxa may cause serious internal bleeding. The FDA is evaluating reports of serious bleeding events in patients taking Pradaxa. The manufacturer of Pradaxa linked at least 260 deaths to Pradaxa use since 2010. If you or a loved one took Pradaxa and suffered from gastrointestinal bleeding, cerebral hemorrhaging, or death, you may be eligible to receive compensation. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG to discuss your rights with an attorney. Call now for a free consultation. 1-800-BAD-DRUG. The CDC recently announced there is a nationwide meningitis outbreak. It appears to be linked to a contaminated injectable steroid. Over 120 people have been diagnosed and 11 have died. The CDC says as many as 13,000 people may have received the medicine. If you or a loved one were diagnosed with meningitis from a contaminated steroid injection, please call 1-800-BAD-DRUG. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG now. Non-attorney spokesperson. If you or a loved one has suffered from a femur or thigh fracture, Fosamax, a commonly prescribed osteoporosis medication, could be to blame. Fosamax is used in the treatment of osteoporosis in postmenopausal women. Femur fractures do not usually occur without trauma. If you suffered a femur or thigh fracture and were on Fosamax, call 1-800-BAD-DRUG. You may be entitled to compensation. It is urgent for you to act immediately to protect your legal rights. If you took Fosamax and suffered from a femur or thigh fracture side effects, call 1-800-BAD-DRUG now. Taking the diabetes drug Actos may increase the risk of bladder cancer. The FDA added a warning after studies show taking Actos may increase your risk of bladder cancer. Symptoms of bladder cancer include dark urine, urinary tract infections, painful or frequent urination, or the inability to urinate. You may be entitled to compensation if you or a loved one was diagnosed with bladder cancer after taking Actos. Please call 1-800-BAD-DRUG to discuss your rights. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG now. DePuy Orthopedics recall its metal-on-metal ASR total hip replacement. The recalled DePuy ASR hip has an estimated 12% failure rate. If you have any metal-on-metal hip implant, you may have a claim. If you have a DePuy ASR or any metal-on-metal hip implant, call 1-800-BAD-DRUG to discuss your rights. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG now for a free confidential consultation. There are deadlines to file your claim. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG. Stryker Orthopedics announced a voluntary recall of 2 types of hip implants. Metal-on-metal hip parts appear to have a high failure rate. If you have a Stryker Rejuvenate or ABG hip, or a DePuy or Smith & Nephew metal-on-metal hip implant, you may have a claim. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG if you have a metal-on-metal hip to discuss your rights. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG now for a free confidential consultation. DePuy Orthopedics recall its metal-on-metal ASR total hip replacement. The recalled DePuy ASR hip has an estimated 12% failure rate. If you have any metal-on-metal hip implant, you may have a claim. If you have a DePuy ASR or any metal-on-metal hip implant, call 1-800-BAD-DRUG to discuss your rights. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG now for a free confidential consultation. There are deadlines to file your claim. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG.
Non-lawyer paid spokesperson. Attention Yaz users. The Yaz birth control pill has been linked to serious and potentially fatal health problems. While safe for many users, the FDA warns there's an increased risk of blood clots that may cause pulmonary embolisms in the lungs. If you or someone you love took Yaz and suffered deep vein thrombosis or a pulmonary embolism, you may be entitled to compensation.
Call 1-800-491-8132. That's 1-800-491-8132.